So today we're going to be studying on the book of Daniel, chapters 1 through 6. We have done several chapters. We're presently on chapter 4, which is uh, Daniel 2, verses 31 through 49. And here's a review of what we've already done. We're in the book of Daniel, learning what it's like in the palace of the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar. Daniel and his three friends, along with many other youth of Jewish royal lineage, have been selected to be part of a retraining. This schooling was for 3 years, and it taught the young men the language and the literature of the Babylonians. After the training, they would be put into the king's service. We see Daniel and his three friends stand strong for their God in terms of the food they eat. They don't do this defiantly, but politely. They don't fight against captivity, nor do they fight when their names are changed, for neither are directly against their God, the God of the Hebrews. But there is a problem with the food that is offered, in that it may be previously offered as a sacrifice to idols, and thereby forbidden for Jews to eat. Or it could be some of the many foods, like pig, that is not allowed for Jews to eat. Either way, Daniel asks for only vegetables and water to eat. God blesses this commitment to him by having he and his three friends looking better than the rest of the young men. It is therefore required that all the young men eat only vegetables and drink only water. After 3 years of study are completed, Daniel and his three friends are put into the service of the king as wise men. God blessed them with wisdom and all kinds of literature and learning. They were actually smarter and more knowledgeable than all the magicians and enchanters already in the kingdom. Daniel is given the special gift of dream interpretation. Time moves on for about a year. Then King Nebuchadnezzar has a dream that disturbs him very much. He feels it has to do with the future, and he's very concerned with getting a true interpretation of it. Is it because he already distrusted his advisors that he gives them such a hard task of interpreting a dream that he will not tell them? Or was it God's way of making Daniel come to the forefront? The king's advisors cannot interpret the dream of Nebuchadnezzar. In their defense, they say something very true. No one can reveal the dream to the king except the gods, and they do not live among humans. But the king doesn't buy it and orders the death of all wise men of the kingdom. This brings Daniel and his friends into the picture. They are also wise men of the kingdom. When Daniel hears the death sentence, he immediately asks the king for some time so that he may interpret the dream for him. Then Daniel comes back to his three friends and they pray to God for help. That night, the mystery of the dream was revealed to Daniel in the interpretation of that dream. When Daniel comes back to tell the king the dream and its interpretation, he says that no man can interpret dreams, but only God in heaven can do so. We leave Daniel ready to tell the king the dream and its interpretation. Let's see what happens. So now we're in chapter 2, verses 31 to 49, Daniel's interpretation of the first dream.
Your Majesty, look, and there before you stood a large statue, an enormous, dazzling statue, awesome in appearance. Awesome in appearance. The head of the statue was made of pure gold, its chest and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, its feet partly of iron and partly of baked clay.
We will explain at the end of this chapter how Bible scholars looking back in history, together with the clues from Daniel, have interpreted this dream. But for now, we will discuss it as Daniel tells us about it. What did King Nebuchadnezzar see in his dream?
He's seen a large statue.
Yeah, what was the head of the statue made of?
Gold.
And the chest and arms?
Silver.
The belly and thighs?
Bronze.
And what were the legs made out of?
Iron.
And the feet?
Partial iron and partial baked clay.
Right. From the head to the feet of the statue, were the value of the metals decreasing or increasing in value?
Decreasing.
Yeah.
While you were watching, a rock was cut out, but not by human hands. It struck the statue on its feet. of clay, iron and clay, and smashed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken to pieces and became like chaff on a threshing floor in the summer. The wind swept them away without leaving a trace, but the rock that struck the statue became a huge mountain and filled the whole earth.
So what destroyed the statue?
A rock,
Yeah. And where did it hit the statue?
the feet.
Okay. Was this a man-made rock?
No,
What became of the rock?
it became a huge mountain.
Right. What happened to the materials of the statue?
They became like chaff on a threshing floor,
And how much of the earth did the mountain fill?
the whole earth.
Very prophetic, isn't it?
Yeah. This was the dream, and now we will interpret it to the king. Your Majesty, you are the King of Kings. The God of heaven has given you dominion and power and might and glory. In your hands he has placed all mankind and the beasts of the field, the birds in the sky. Wherever you live, he has made you rule over them all. You are that head of gold.
Who is the we that Daniel is speaking of in verse 236?
Daniel and God?
No, Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah,
And God.
yes.
So we will interpret it to the king. So Daniel and God, or Daniel and his three friends and God, one or the other.
Okay.
Who is the head of gold?
The king?
Right. Daniel gives us a description of King Nebuchadnezzar here. He tells us, go ahead and just fill those in.
King Nebuchadnezzar is the King of Kings. The God of heaven had given him dominion and power and might and glory. In Nebuchadnezzar's hands, God has placed all mankind, the beasts of the field, and the birds in the sky. God has made Nebuchadnezzar ruler over them all.
The scripture in Jeremiah below confirms Nebuchadnezzar's rulership over the beasts of the field. What do you think this means? Okay, Jeremiah 27:6. And now I've given all these lands in the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beasts of the field I have also given him to serve him.
My opinion is they're saying the flocks and the herds, like all the animals and things like that, when they say the beasts of the fields.
I think so too, that everything that everybody can herds and stuff is under his control as well.
Yeah.
Now the birds
Things
in the air, I don't know how that affects, but
I think the field and things are the animals that work, that can cause, that can he can prosper from.
right.
After you, another kingdom will arise, inferior to yours. Next, a third kingdom, one of bronze, will rule over the whole earth. Finally, there will be a fourth kingdom, strong as iron, for iron breaks and smashes everything. And as iron breaks things to pieces, so it will crush and break all the others.
What do we know of the kingdom after Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom?
That another will rise that is inferior to his.
Right. And what is the metal of the second kingdom?
Silver.
Right. Is this metal less valuable than gold?
Yes, it is.
And what is the metal of the third kingdom?
Bronze.
Where is that located on the statue?
The belly and thighs.
Right. And is the bronze less valuable than silver?
Yes, it is.
What is the metal of the fourth kingdom?
It is iron.
And where is this metal located?
On his legs.
And what will the fourth kingdom do to all prior kingdoms?
It's going to crush and break all others.
Right.
Daniel 2:41. Just as you saw that the feet and toes were partly of baked clay and partly of iron, so this will be a divided kingdom. Yet it will have some of the strength of iron in it, even as you saw iron mixed with clay. As the toes were partly iron and partly clay, so this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. And just as you saw the iron mixed with baked clay, so the people will be a mixture and will not remain united any more than iron mixes with clay.
So what are the feet and toes made of?
Iron and clay.
How many toes are there on 2 feet?
10.
That's where we get the 10.
Yeah.
One of the materials of the feet and toes relate to the metal prior. What is it?
Iron.
Daniel interprets the mix of clay and iron how?
He interprets it as a divided kingdom.
Right. Will the people of the kingdom that is designated by the feet and toes be the same type of people or a mixture?
Daniel says that the people will be a mixture.
Right. And what are some of the problems with this kingdom indicated by the feet and toes?
They're not going to remain united. And divided, it will have some strength, but it's still going to be only partly strong and partly brittle.
Right.
Daniel 2:44. In the time of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will it be left to another people. It will crush all those kingdoms to bring them to an end, but it will itself endure forever. This is a meaning of the vision of the rock cut out of the mountain, but not by human hands. A rock that broke the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold pieces.
In the time of those kings, what does Daniel mean by that phrase? What kings?
The 10 kings.
Right, the 10 kings. This again illustrates where we come up with 10. Who will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed?
God.
Yeah. Will this kingdom be left to another people after it?
No.
No. What will this final kingdom do to all other kingdoms?
It will crush it to other ending, it's going to end them all.
Right. How does this kingdom show up in the vision of the statue?
It is the rock that is cut from the earth, but not by hand.
Yeah, that becomes a mountain. Yeah.
Daniel 2:45. The great God has shown the king what will take place in the future. The dream is true and its interpretation is trustworthy.
Daniel will not know specifically what kingdoms he was talking about, but we now know most of his vision. Let's talk about it in detail. The gold head of the statue was what kingdom?
Babylon.
Right. How long was this kingdom in existence?
66 years.
Good. Daniel will be alive all this time. Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
What kingdom is symbolized by the breast and arms of silver?
Medes and Persians.
Medes and Persians, yeah. This kingdom is the time of the restoration of Jerusalem. The books of Daniel, Isaiah, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Haggai, and Zechariah deal with this time. Daniel even tells us of this takeover of the Medes and Persians. Go ahead and read that.
Daniel 6:30-31. That very night, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
Right. So he even tells us about the changeover. Okay, so questions from the prior page. What was the third kingdom that conquered the Medes and the Persians?
Greece.
The empire of the Macedonians, or brazen-coated Greeks, aptly denoted by the belly and thighs of brass, founded by the Alexander the Great, terminated the Persian monarchy by the overthrow of Darius Condamanus at Arbela. That's according to the Blue Letter Bible. So, 2, Daniel 10:20, shown below, is very interesting. This is told to Daniel during the last part of his life. He will not see the fall of Persia to Greece, but the angel tells Daniel something we should all be aware of. According to Daniel 10:20, are there heavenly forces working against our enemy while we're fighting them on earth?
Yes.
And what do you think about that?
It shows our battles are not our own.
Right. And I really think as we pray, we strengthen our side in spiritual battle, And
Yeah.
that's our part of that. And we can't see, but our prayers strengthen our side.
That's true.
How long was the kingdom of Greece a world kingdom?
185 years.
And what is the fourth kingdom?
Rome.
Rome, yes. How long was Rome the world kingdom?
622 years.
All four of these kingdoms controlled Israel and the Jews. When Rome fell in 476 AD, there was no longer a single kingdom that ruled over the Jews and therefore the world. How is the feet and toes described in the diagram above?
Iron and clay, divided nations of Europe.
Right. Yeah, so they're not quite sure, that still may be in existence, or it still is now, because people used to think that was the UN. And but it didn't just control 10. So we still may yet be there. What are the kingdoms that are signified by the feet and toes of iron mixed with clay? There's been a lot of discussion on who or when the kingdom represented by the feet of iron and clay happens. Is it the divided nations of Europe from 476 AD to present day? Is the fact that there are 10 toes significant? No one kingdom or group of united kingdoms have ruled over Israel after Rome. Is this important since everything in the Bible relates to Israel? Another indication that this is yet to come is that the rock that destroys everything has not yet happened. Are there any other scriptures about these kingdoms? Yes, go ahead and read Daniel 7.
All right. In Daniel 7, 23 through 24, it says the fourth beast shall be a fourth kingdom on earth, which shall be different from all other kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, trample it, and break it into pieces. The 10 horns are 10 kingdoms who shall arise from this kingdom.
Many thought it was United Nations when it was created in 1945, but there was not a lot of 10 nations. There was not a limit of 10 nations. Many looked at the European Union when it was created in 1993 as a fulfillment of this prophecy, especially since the area of the European Union is part of the old Roman Empire. But now 27 countries are included in that. Others see it as a league of 10 nations that will arise near or during the time of tribulation. A scripture that supports that comes from Revelation.
Revelation 17:12. The 10 horns which you saw are 10 kings who have received no kingdom as yet, but they receive authority for 1 hour as kings with the beast, the Antichrist.
Right. If it is true that this final kingdom exists during the tribulation, then the rock that hits the kingdoms and destroys them by God relates to the second coming of Christ, when indeed he sets up his own kingdom that is never overthrown.
In this one, the 10, this shows you where in his dream the 10 toes are meant as the kings, because of where it talks about 10 horns, and numerous times in other scriptures the 10 horns are repeated as you get closer and closer to Revelations. They talk about it. And as you outlined here, this is, and you had put down there the Roman Empire, the nations are going to come, the 10 kingdoms are going to come from that area.
That's what we think.
Is what I
from
think.
the old Roman Empire.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I mean, that's one version. Obviously, during tribulation, it might be outside of this. But the biggest factor, more so than if they come from this area, is if they control Israel. Okay. Because all kingdoms controlled Israel. So that's a more clear factor than this.
Okay. Daniel 2:46. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate before Daniel and paid him honor and ordered that an offering and incense be presented to him. The king said to Daniel, surely your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery.
Who did Nebuchadnezzar pay honor to?
Daniel.
What did Nebuchadnezzar have presented to Daniel?
An offering and incense.
Right. What does Nebuchadnezzar say about Daniel's God? Go ahead and fill those three.
Your God is the God of gods. Your God is the Lord of kings. Your God is a reveler of mysteries.
Interestingly, Nebuchadnezzar will acknowledge the superiority of the Hebrew God several times in his reign, but never convert. What does Nebuchadnezzar credit the answer of his question about his dream to? Daniel or the God of Daniel?
The God of Daniel.
And what makes you say that?
Because if you look in verse 47, it says, surely your God is the God of gods. Because then it says, and a reveler of mysteries, for you were able to reveal this mystery. Because he gives credit there when he says a reveler of mysteries.
Right. Okay. Is the killing of the wise men now of Babylon now stopped? Is an opinion question.
I think that it has stopped, and that's because Daniel had originally asked for it to be waited, for that sentence to be waited on until he could interpret the dream. So I think now that the dream has interpreted, that's not taking place.
Right. Oh, because it's never actually said it's been stopped, but Daniel and his friends remain alive. So we have to assume that it's stopped. Who do you think Nebuchadnezzar will turn to now for advice?
Daniel.
That's it. You would think.
Yeah. Daniel 2:48. Then the king placed Daniel in a high position and lavished many gifts on him. He made him ruler over the entire province of Babylon and placed him in charge of all its wise men. Moreover, at Daniel's request, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego administrators over the province of Babylon, while David himself remained at the royal court.
Right. And this is a good leader who just doesn't take all the praise for himself, but acknowledges the other people who were part of it. King Nebuchadnezzar honors Daniel in 4 ways. Go ahead and fill those out.
Okay. The first one is he placed Daniel in a high position. The second one, he lavished many gifts on him. Next, he made Daniel ruler over the entire province of Babylon, and then placed Daniel in charge of all its wise men.
Right. So Daniel stays in Babylon, and then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego are part of the province administrators. So he stays nearby, Daniel does. Where did Daniel decide to stay?
At the
I'm
royal
sorry.
court.
Right. I missed 2. Daniel made a request for his friends. What did he have them become?
He asked that they become administrators over the province of Babylon.
Right. Why did Daniel want to also honor his 3 friends?
Because they also prayed with him for the insight on the dreams. So
Right.
they did their part too. They helped pray to get this insight.
Right. Yes. Yes, definitely. Okay, we're down to the crossword for this chapter already. Okay, so 2 across, the legs of the statue are what?
Iron.
4 across, in the time of the 10 kings, God of heaven will set up a
Kingdom.
That will never be destroyed. 6, the rock became a huge
Mountain.
And filled the whole earth. 8, the king told Daniel, your God is a revealer of
Mysteries.
10, the head of the statue was pure
Gold.
12, in his dream, the king saw a large
Statue.
13, which kingdom is symbolized by the gold head?
Babylon.
14, the belly and the thighs of the statue were what?
Bronze.
1 down, what struck the statue at the feet?
Rock. Sorry.
No problem. 3, the king appointed Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as
Administrators.
over the province of Babylon. 5, the God has given Nebuchadnezzar dominion and
Power.
and might and glory. 7, what world kingdom came after Greece?
Rome.
9, the chest and arms of the statue were what?
Oh, hold on. Silver.
And 11, the feet of the statue were partly of iron and partly of baked.
Clay.
Cool. Okay, let me go ahead and terminate this.